So now NJS per E, you know the secret behind a lot of those New Jack Swing hits as far as the technical production side of it. I personally, as a music lover, and I'm not sure how many other people on the forum agree with me, but I personally want to thank you guys and, you know, all the New Jack Swing producers for bringing out what I feel is a kind of a whack period in music. It was like a transition after, you know, Michael Jackson had came out and did his thing. Prince had came out and did his thing in, you know, around 82, 83, maybe 84. Right. And then like between 85, 86, maybe early 87, it was kind of in this in-between, like, digital synth
right
music.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Realm with I hated the drums in every song, and I'm like
Star and stuff like
that. Yes, you know, and when Teddy came, it was like a, you know, New Jack Swing and all that. It was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, definitely.
Musically, and the melodies, you couldn't compare anything with the melodies you guys were doing as far as on the R&B and the hip-hop side, you know, like you said, melding it together. So personally, I want to thank you guys, because that was a time period in music where I was like, man, what the heck?
Yeah, right. I know what you mean. Like I said, when I first heard those first joints that Teddy started dropping, I was like, wow, this is what music could be. I want to be in it for sure now. You know what I mean?
Right,
there was like things that he was doing, Marley Marl was doing at the time with hip hop, and you know, there was a few other cats that motivated me to go further.
Right. Well, let's move on to you hooking up with the Three Boys of Newark, where it looks like you did the bulk of your work, the New Jack Swing period with the Three Boys of Newark.
Right.
Tell us how that happened and how that hooked up.
Well, what had happened in that situation was I had been doing some work for a group named Shamari.
Right, I remember.
That we also did work on, but I was working with the group itself on, you know, some programs of some songs that they were doing in the studio, and Vincent and Kayama had came to the studio through the A&R guy that we were all linked up through, which was Dave Gossett. Y'all would know him through Black Sheep fame.
Right.
He signed Black Sheep and a couple of other artists. He was part of that whole Native Tongue movement too. What had happened was they had met me at the Shamari session when they were solicited to do some stuff for them, and they liked what they heard, so they was like, yo, we got this remix to do for a Small Change this weekend. You want to come through? I was like, yeah, please, no problem. So I came through, did my thing, and that was the birth of the Three Boys from Newark, because to my knowledge, there was Three Boys from Newark in the beginning, but by the time I met them, it was only Vincent and Kayama, and I wound up becoming the honorary third boy from Newark, even though I wasn't.
92 looks like looking at your discography, 92 looks like a hot year for Three Boys. You guys did a lot of remixes. I know one in particular is a real hot one. Is the Michael Jackson in the Closet remix.
Yeah, that was a cool experience. Cool.
Were you able to meet Michael there, or did you guys just get the track and do it, or how did that work?
We weren't able to meet Michael. We did talk to him over the phone after the remix was done, and he told us that he really appreciated what we did. He liked what he heard and everything, but we didn't get to meet him. We were in the studio for, I'd say, we went in like Thursday night and didn't come out until Sunday morning, trying to really make the best remix possible, and we just slaved ourselves. No sleep, no nothing, just between going through the reels, picking out the best stuff, because the funny thing is up until that point, a lot of the songs that we did were 48-track sessions that we did, 24 tracks of music, and the other 24 would be for vocals and backgrounds and so on and so forth. But, Michael broke us out of that because he came with like 72, 96 tracks.
Whoa,
so we had to go through, between the stuff that he did with Teddy, we had to go through the music tracks that Teddy did to decide if there was anything from there that we were going to keep, then go through the vocal tracks, and decide if there was anything interesting on there that we wanted to put out there that wasn't used and all of that, and then worked on the track and getting the mix done and making sure that it was A1 so that when he heard it, he would definitely like it, we would definitely get the gig, and it would be a done deal. And everything worked out as planned.
And, of course, there was no Pro Tools back then, so it was
no
reel-to-reel, right? Safe?
Yeah, it was actually 248 Studers running with a Sony, I think it was like a Sony 56 reel, a digital reel.
Oh, okay. Now, you were in a group, 1, 2, 3,
right,
with Kiyama. Around what year was that?
That was, I'd say, around the end of 92 going into 93.
Okay. And you put out one album. I forget the name of the album.
The whole New Head album, right.
Yeah. Was that was the only album you guys put out, right?
Yeah, that was the only album. We were slated to put out 2 albums, but things didn't work out with the group overall, and the label had just opted to release us, but yet, you know, they did well since we were signed for 2 albums firm. They gave us what we needed to get, and everybody parted their ways.
When you guys disbanded that group, was that the end of 3 Boys also, or did?
Well, 3 Boys had ended actually at the birth of that group.
Oh,
group
okay.
was kind of like forming somewhere in between 3 Boys, because Kayama had always wanted to do the artist thing, and I had wanted to do the artist thing, so we started to blend these things together, and then through our work with Christopher Williams, we had met another guy, Curtis Baldwin, who used to be of 227 fame, 227 TV show fame in America, and we had asked him to join the group, and that was the birthing of 1, 2, 3. And right around that time when that was all happening, 3 Boys had disbanded, and me and Kayama had went on to form CK Blunt Incorporated with Christopher Williams, who was our manager at the time of the group in the situation.
Now, that was around 93, right?
Correct.
So you guys went on to do stuff like Good Girls,
right.
Freddie Jackson.
Correct.
The Shanice Wilson, I see Colin England.
Right.
I see you also worked on the first Usher CD.
Right.
I think during that time period, I think music started to change a little bit. Puffy was getting a little bit more control over what was happening in the music game. And I see Faith was on the scene. I know on that album you said in the Forum you guys met Faith there at those sessions or before those sessions, really, with Al B. Sure, right?
Well, in actuality, Kayama had met Faith in church. And this was before the Al B. Sure sessions or the Usher/Puffy sessions. Kayama had met Faith, and we were supposed to be releasing Faith as an artist. But when things disbanded with the group, because the group had moved all out to California, where our parent label EMI was situated, and when we all moved back to New York and things kind of disbanded, it was like, okay, we were all kind of like, all right, we need to get back to this music thing and do what we need to do to, you know, make money and get bread and keep our name out there. So Kayama and I did some sessions together, and from that session, the Usher song, Slow Love, was formed, and the other song, I'll Make It Right, was actually a previous 1, 2, 3 song that never got released on the album. At least the verses were part of that. Okay. And what had happened was Faith had been at the sessions with us, and I'll Be Sure had needed a vocalist to complete a song that he had written for a girl group that was supposed to come out at the time. I forget the name. But she did the reference, and when he heard how she could sing, he was like, wait a minute. You guys have been holding on to this and haven't said anything to anybody. And we was like, nah, well, we had her material, but, you know, we was working on getting it, you know, getting everything situated for her at a proper time. And then from there it developed into Puffy hearing her and Puffy just saying, yo, you're going to be the first girl I signed to my label, da-da-da-da-da-da. You got that quality, you got that voice. That's what it is. And everything else is history from there as far as, you know, her career and how that developed.